Hey everyone, Charai5 here. This one has been a long time coming. I knew that I wanted to put all the Sonic Edutainment games in a compilation video of sorts, and after the Bluey video that I did last May, I knew exactly when I wanted this one to come out. That one was a Mother's Day gift to my lovely wife, and I figured that I could use this format to start a sort of tradition where I have Bay5 as my co-host each year. That way we could look back on it years later and see how they grew year to year. May also happens to be Teachers Appreciation Month, and coming from a family of teachers, I figured that, covering a video of Sonic Edutainment games was pretty cute, and it made me feel a little better about missing the Mother's Day deadline this year. Part of the reason why is precisely because I have Bay5 now, and so my time is divided between taking care of them alongside still working on these videos for you guys. As I've gotten older and taken on more personal responsibilities, I've found myself probably more tired than I've ever been. And even though I do try to take care of myself nowadays, I do worry that my exhaustion is exacerbated by a lack of necessary nutrients. While I've taken supplements in the past, they're usually so specific to a need that I don't notice much of a difference even with a multivitamin. Recently, though, I'd heard about Grun's gummies, and so I thought they sounded interesting, and they reached out as a sponsor, so I figured, you know what? This sounds great, I'm gonna jump at the opportunity to work with them. I'm not gonna lie, at first I did think it was just another multivitamin marketing itself as the healthier alternative. Vegan, allergen-free, no artificial stuff in it, with low sugar or, in my case, sugar-free options. But where most supplements come in a bottle form for you to take as you want, 1 or 2 a day, Grun's comes in a daily snack pack of 8 gummies each to provide over 20 vitamins and minerals, as well as a blend of core nutrients. Instead of just taking one supplement and thinking you're good to go, Grun's comes in a specific serving size to provide a better daily value of each nutrient you're consuming, with a comprehensive label that lists exactly what it is you're consuming, not just the generic vitamin and mineral names. As well, because they're gummies, they're more bioavailable, meaning that our bodies absorb those nutrients a whole lot better. Now, I haven't opened the pack they sent me because they wanted me to capture what my initial reaction to their taste is. That's how confident they are in their product. And I kind of get it, because I feel like the more stuff you put into a supplement, the more it tastes like medicine. So let's give it a try and see how it holds up. Sugar free. Okay, it's a cute little gummy bear. That's just a fruit snack. That's just an adult fruit snack. That is surprising that it's sugar-free, because it has the sweetness of a fruit snack. It's pretty good. It does have that you can tell that it's supposed to be a healthy thing, because it has that whole food taste to it. But it's just a gummy bear otherwise. It's good. Now, I've talked about how nutrient-dense these are, but you may still be wondering what benefits you get from Grun's gummies. As just an example of what they contain, it has thiamine, which helps the body use carbohydrates and maintain nerve function. It has vitamin C, which is an antioxidant, helping in tissue repair, formation of collagen, among many other benefits. It has biotin and niacinamide, which are B vitamins that keep hair, nails, and skin healthy, and those are just the ones that I'm more personally familiar with. Keep in mind, I haven't even mentioned the additional whole foods ingredients, which makes Grun's not just a multivitamin, but a prebiotic and green supplement, all conveniently condensed in a tiny little snack pack for you to take to school or work and enjoy throughout your day. So if you're at all interested in the benefits that they offer the way that I was, head on over and click my link in the description to receive a 52% discount off of your first order of Grun's gummies. Thank you so much to Grun's for sponsoring this video. Okay, now, I have to go get my co-host because we have learning to do. Guess learning really tuckers you out, huh? Okay, hear me out though. When else would I cover this game? There is basically no other subgenre this one fits in. I don't know, Chunk, how not to make a puzzle game? Cut me some slack. No. Oh my god. You know, people say that no matter how bad a Sonic game is, the music always slaps? Yeah, this is one of those rare instances where both the game and the music are terrible. And I don't understand why this exists. Like, puzzle games were all the rage around the time this came out, with the likes of Tetris, Puyo Puyo, and even Sega's own Columns, but the idea to make the two-player mode a kind of puzzle fighter between two Sonics is just odd. Like, I get it, this released the same year the first game came out, so they didn't really have many characters to use as an opponent, but you literally had Dr. Eggman. That's how it worked back then. The younger sibling got player 2, the less desirable character, and the knockoff game controller that the kind Guatemalan man at the flea market that doesn't speak a lick of English, but who assures you that the controller will work just fine, even though it has Saga instead of Sega printed on it. My point is, this game's existence is a conundrum to me. There's also no real way to legitimately play this nowadays. This was released as a digital exclusive for the Sega MegaNet service back in the early 90s, where you'd have to connect to their online game library through your Genesis and download it. They also briefly offered it in the early 2000s as a rental through their B Club service, where you could play select Saturn and Mega Drive games on your computer through their proprietary emulators, but both of those services were exclusive to Japan, aside from a brief MegaNet comeback in Brazil. Internal files show that it was maybe going to be available to play in Gems Collection, which would have been the only legitimate way to own and play this nowadays. Otherwise, using an totally legal Sega Mega Drive is the only way we can even talk about this one. It's also just boring? Like, I'm not even good at puzzle games, and yeah, their game design typically boils down to match the things and clear the board, but there's something about this one in particular that just isn't engaging to me at all. It could be that the UI is uninspired, or that the falling blocks have no personality I can assign to them. Even in Tetris, we all know that the square piece is the chill guy who brings snacks to the party and can fit nicely in an occupied space. And the line piece is the life of the party that everyone ends up asking when they're getting here, and when they finally arrive, you know things just got real. That's just a triangle. And that's just a square. And that's just a square with a square in it. Also, with the book being the title screen and what contains the rules and the credits, you would think that they'd maybe try to incorporate that into the rest of the game's design, but the gameplay portion seems more industrial, like a Robotnik invention. This could have been the very first storybook game. They should have taken that music maker and made some better music. The heck is this? No, see, it's different because, I can click around in this one. This one comes in a book. Totally different. Yes, Monkey, it's a book, but you can't read this one. It just has pictures in it. In fact, let's talk about that, because as far as video game preservation goes, this is a complicated one. You might notice the layout I currently have for this game, and it's one I custom made using the actual Sega Pico I own with the actual physical copy of the game. And the reason I even own these things is because originally when I tried to play these games on an totally legal Sega Pico, there wasn't much I could do because I needed the touch functionality that comes with the electromagnets on the console. Given that that was the case, I was left with no choice but to seek out and purchase the original hardware and capture footage of it using traditional methods. The thing is, this isn't cheap to do, nor is it super accessible. I mean, the Pico is over 30 years old now. I did eventually find a very obscure modified version of an totally legal Sega Genesis that was designed to play Pico games with rudimentary touch controls using your cursor on separate windows, in place of the physical book and pen pad. That's why you'll see my cursor on screen. All I did was replace the assets with my own scans, and it worked pretty well. And I get it, how are you supposed to emulate these on a virtual console in the modern day? But I don't know, man. You could create an interface specifically for it, or even change some of the basic functionality to suit more modern control schemes. My point is, a lot of these games kinda get lost to time, especially when you don't have people who know these games exist, and so don't bother to create something that makes them accessible, precisely because they're so inaccessible to begin with. Oh my god, what is that tail sprite?
Green Hill's looking a lot more like Sand Hill right now.
What in the Sonic.exe is happening now? Did they just slide the blue value up and call it a day? After green and sand, they just decided, well, we're out of ideas, just make it Blue Hill Zone. I doubt anyone's gonna play this minigame more than twice. How heavy and sturdy are these lily pads that Tails can not just stand on them, but hop to them? So this minigame is called Percussion Pinball, and I understand that the point is to hit the percussive instruments to be able to hear them, but the fact that the rest of the level is just silent makes this really ominous and gives off the vibe that the game is broken or something. This is definitely one of those games where if you didn't have the manual growing up, you'd be in trouble, because while, yeah, I figured out what to do without having to look at it, I also had no idea if circling the notes to their respective place on the scale was my objective, or if it was just a thing I could do. Why does this game just play out like a creepypasta? When I got to level 3, suddenly it was like the first level, but blue, and then I went to Casino Night Zone, but there was no music, only sound effects, and then I went to the third page, and when I clicked on the door, Robotnik peeked out of the window and smiled at me. While this is one of the better minigames, employing a Breakout clone to teach musical notation and rhythm, yeah, it's still just Breakout. And then you have this one, which asks you to match the instruments not by type, but by melody and harmony. And that would be fine if I could listen to them in context, but they play each instrument separately, and at that point, the only thing I have to go off of is if the rhythm sounds similar. Yeah, baby, that's a piano. You wanna play it?
Yeah.
This one is probably the best one because it has the best music to objective ratio. It's a kind of Simon Says game where you have to follow the notes that end up playing a song in order to free an animal from its badnik form. It's a great way to teach kids some of these simple piano melodies. My only complaint is that the example portion of the Simon Says plays the notes really slowly, like all they did was take the original song's timing and stretched it out. And normally I wouldn't mind that because it could, in theory, teach kids the proper timing of these songs, but here, on a sound chip, those slowed down notes get pretty grating, especially the longer they stay on those notes. Just listen to this one. We interrupt Tales on the Music Maker to bring you Mario Paint, which was an art game that had a music side portion, whereas this one is a music game that has an art side portion. Huh.
I'm Sonic.
Oh, you sure are, buddy.
Right over there is where you pick a character. Just click on the animal. Try it if you don't believe me.
Alright, dude. I literally have no reason to not believe you. No need to just throw out accusations like that.
If you're not sure how to do it, ask a grown-up. That's what they're for.
Of course. Everyone knows that grown-ups exist to provide the 5 most fundamental things to a child's upbringing. Love, food, shelter, basic life education, and how to use the keyboard to type your own name in Sonic Schoolhouse. Yeah, Chunk, school. Did they even know an animator when they worked on this game? His head barely moves, his arms are breaking in 5 different places every time he raises them, and he lifts his fingers at the speed of a slug.
If the game's running slow, try clicking here. 486 instead of Pentium means your game will run faster. It just won't be quite as pretty.
Yeah, because this game is beautiful. Oh my god, look at all the freaks of nature I could be. I don't think that's a pig. I think that's a balloon demon that inflates and deflates at will to spook the non-believers. Look, I was gonna be the monkey anyway, but that just kind of sold me on it. Oh. Yeah, because as everybody knows, you stop liking Sonic the Hedgehog after the 4th grade. You could have at least gone up to 5th to finish off elementary school. Jeez, someone's really excited about school. What earthly force could even compel someone to make that sound in the first place? Of all the artwork to use, you chose the box art for the 8-bit version of Sonic Spinball? It wasn't even new at the time this game came out.
Get ready for a Sonic adventure.
Oh, I wish that's what I was about to play. He's gonna do that every time I beat one of these, isn't he? Oh my god, you're joking. Was your art department comprised of people who were literally still in school?
You can't come in here unless you find a bus pass in one of the classrooms.
Well, it looks like I'm already in here, so... Also, what was it you said before we started the game?
In my schoolhouse, you're the boss.
Clearly I'm not if you have all these arbitrary rules for me to follow. Oh my god, this game.
Click on the buttons over the window to find out more about whoever you're visiting.
Whoa! All right, that was a really quick stop. And none of you got whiplash from that?
People call us the hippopotamus, because that means water horse in Greek, which is a pretty good description if you ask me.
I disagree. Horses are majestic creatures that can serve as transport. Put a saddle on them, you can ride them anywhere. You would rip me apart limb from limb before I could even put a saddle on you.
My stomach is so big, it can hold 5 or 6 bushels of food.
Hey look, it me.
I'm a gator. That's alligator to y'all who don't live down south where I'm from.
I can't imagine a single person who would hear the word gator and not know that you're talking about an alligator. What would we confuse you with? The aid?
When we're still little, we like to eat bugs and minnows and mud bugs. You know what a mud bug is. You probably call them crawfish.
Oh, so not a bug. A crustacean, in fact. I don't know why you would think I wouldn't know what a gator is, but assume that I'd immediately know that a mud bug is a crawfish. Wait, that's a kangaroo? I thought that was supposed to be a weasel.
Good day, mate. That's how we say hello where I'm from. That's Australia, in case you didn't pick up on the accent.
Oh, Struth, I've watched enough Bluey to know you're not fooling anybody with that fake Aussie accent, mate. No, not right now. We're doing a thing. You can watch it later.
Some rabbits are lucky and live with people as pets. We like everything from cold, snowy areas to hot deserts. You've probably played with a rabbit at your friend's house or at the zoo.
Did you forget what voice you were doing for the rabbit? This last set of lines sounds so different than the previous ones, like you're trying to not be as energetic and loud. You're allowed to play back your previous recordings. You know that, right?
Most of the cattle you see in America today came from cows that were only brought over about 200 years ago. You can tell the difference because they have much shorter horns. Well, now you understand why I'm called a longhorn.
Is it because of the long horns?
Trust me, you don't want anything that big and fat bumping around your living room.
Hey, I resemble that remark. I mean resent.
Did you know that baby monkeys are born and grow in pretty much the same way as little kids do?
Tell me about it. Hey kiddo, I just call him as I see him.
I don't have any kind of protection, except that I run fast.
Said Sonic the Hedgehog in a fanfic I read once when I was 12. I had to look at the manual to verify if there was any kind of lore to this, because it kinda just hit me that Robotnik is here trying to mess with your learning process, and there really isn't, so I have to wonder, why? Why is he here? Is he just a massive hater? I get that this is Sonic's schoolhouse, but he rarely ever goes after Sonic without an ulterior motive or without having built something else ahead of time. And really, he's not even messing with Sonic, he's messing with us as the player. Okay, I didn't think I'd have anything to complain about music-wise this time around, but the credits theme is an arrangement of Entry of the Gladiators, and it's really bugging me how offbeat the percussion is. It's always like half a second too late, and it's just unpleasant to listen to. Lastly, again, this game is yet another one that's not very legally accessible, and not only due to its outdated format. I was just about to say that getting a copy of the game was easy enough due to how inexpensive it is, but as I was typing this out, I decided to double check, and not only was I wrong about it being cheap, I was wrong about being able to find a copy of it at all. And even if you did fork over the ridiculous asking price, you'd then need to also get a hold of an old Windows computer, an XP operating system at the latest. Yes, there are workarounds to getting this to work on Windows 10 and 11, but if you're already going through the trouble of installing certain DLL files on your hard drive, manually creating a new folder on it with the components of the installation, and then setting the executable to run on a Windows XP compatibility mode, you might as well just run a virtual machine. And even then, for some reason, the audio engine won't be configured properly, and I learned that one the hard way, because when I captured this game, I figured everything was running just fine. Sonic was talking to me, the sound effects seemed to work, but there was no music, which I thought was strange because Sonic mentions the music setting when you start the game. So I looked it up, and not only was I missing out on the music, I was missing certain lines of dialogue too. Why do some lines play, but then other lines don't play? Why do I need to go through this trouble to play a relatively simple game? No, you're not. You're right here. Also, is it really hiding if you're telling me whereabouts you are?
Bye.
Yes, baby, that is a bird. It's called a flicky. This is such a dumb question because unlike most spin-offs, this one actually has Sonic's full name in the title. All a kid would have to do is look at the box of the game they're playing. Oh. Look, it doesn't help that his name is Cucky. Don't worry about it. Okay, I know this is for the sake of a minigame, but say it with me. Why is Sonic in car? He can fast more than vehicle. At the beginning of this game, there's a menu that asks you to set the difficulty for the session you're about to play between easy and hard, and they were not kidding when they say hard. It's not unreasonable by any means, but even I, a grown man with a considerable degree of experience in playing video games, still managed to only eke out victories against the computers in some of these minigames. I can't imagine how a child, whom these games are designed for, would perform on this difficulty. Dude, I'm sorry, but this music, mixed with the terrifying stares from that Pecky and that Flicky, make this one feel like a creepypasta too. And then, I played the Toy Drop minigame, and all the dolls were the Sonic characters from this game, and the music was haunting, and the birds stared at me with hyper-realistic eyes, and I saw like 12 Tails dolls, and I cried. We interrupt Sonic the Hedgehog's Gameworld to bring you Eggman's theme from Sonic Adventure 2, specifically the remix from Shadow the Hedgehog. Oh! We also interrupt to bring you the Hedgehog Hammer minigame from the first Sonic Adventure. But backwards. What? Was that a dummy ring? Why would it hurt Sonic otherwise? I'm sorry, what did you say to me? Oh, I thought she was saying something very inappropriate. That I was something that begins with an F. Yeah, you got me on that one. The best I can make out is I want the truth, but that doesn't make sense. Child, you couldn't tickle the answer out of me. The box says helps develop strategy, dexterity, and memory skills. And, I mean, I guess? By that metric, all video games are educational. At least it makes more sense in this one. Gameworld at least feels more catered to having fun than strictly adhering to a theme, but yeah, it is kinda weird that both the Pico games have a drawing function on their last page.
Bustling metropolis. I'm Chris
Thorndike. And man, I never thought I'd have to say his name for one of these.
You'll have to guess by my greatest invention ever. My wonderful math robot.
He sure did, Chunk. He sure isn't, Monk. But he does own his own schoolhouse, so maybe I'm wrong. Whoa! Did you just rework Sonic Advance sprites to fit the Sonic 3 style? I can't even be upset, that looked rad! Although, it does make me wonder why you bothered using a design from the classic era for a game based on an anime that uses his more modern design. Were you not allowed to use those sprites because they originated on a Nintendo console? I hardly think that would matter. I guess I just don't understand why they would put so much effort into making custom sprites in another style when they could have just used the more updated design. Especially considering that this game is already not original to begin with. Sonic X for the Leapster is a heavily modified version of an existing game known as Numbers on the Run Counting on Zero. The mechanics are basically the same. Find question marks that ask a math question, and find the number that answers it. Weirdly enough, though, I'd argue that the original game is slightly more complex since there's a few mechanics that were straight up dropped from the Sonic version. And that's quite the decision, considering that other than the rings, springs, and Chaos Emeralds, nothing really makes this a Sonic game. I'm not kidding when I say that I was falling asleep at my desk when I recorded this. It's that boring.
That's 13.
Okay, well, I know that. I didn't mean to run into the number. Your controls aren't the most responsive, LMAX. Speaking of the LMAX, this thing was a pain in the butt to capture, by the way. You might have noticed that I said Sonic X for the Leapster earlier, and that's because it was designed for that console, the Leapfrog Leapster, and it also works on its successor, the Leapster 2. Unfortunately, neither of those consoles have a way to output their video feed, but in between the release of both consoles, Leapfrog developed one known as the LMAX, which was designed specifically to be able to output its video and audio to a TV. In fact, the game I mentioned earlier, Counting on Zero, was an LMAX exclusive. Now, mind you, this console is 21 years old at the time of this video's release, meaning that it wasn't exactly meant to be digitally recorded and shared on the internet, and in the modern day, I had to purchase an AV converter since the cable it uses to output video is proprietary and is only in composite form. As well, I'm sure that a lot of its components aren't exactly designed to stand the test of time, so I think the audio cables were messed up, meaning that the audio I originally had skipped a whole bunch, and that's when it did play, so I had to also hook up a two-way 3.5mm headphone jack from the console to my audio mixer just to be able to accurately record this game's audio. You'd have thought that my LMAX was on life support given all the cables hooked up to it just lying around me while I try to record the most bare-bones math game I've ever played. And I gotta say, I've played some games that hold your hand a bit too much, and I get it. This was designed for 5 to 7-year-olds, but we only have 3 options. You don't have to make the answer flash yellow just because I got the answer wrong once. Accidentally, mind you.
Mom, please just do it.
No, it's not illegal.
It's Eggman's Super Sucky Machine!
His what? Oh. You guys realize that the gold plate is a goal, right? Like, to signify the end of a level? If you're using these as checkpoints, did you use the goal rings for the end of the stage?
Go past these when the light is green.
Ah, teaching math and traffic law. No, that would be very illegal. And then, if you leave the screen and come back to a gold plate, it's stuck on Eggman again and you can't turn it anymore. Yeah. Hates me. I guess they can't stand how smart we are? I don't know. Oh. Wait, the lamppost is the end goal? So, what's typically the end goal is the checkpoint, and what's typically the checkpoint is the end goal? Did you guys even play a Sonic game before you made this?
Find the number 14.
Huh? I can just stand on the numbers sometimes?
Find the number 69.
Nice.
That's too fumble.
Wait, if the traffic lasers don't even hurt me, why have them? To slow me down? This is already not a very fast-paced game. Also, if I can't get hurt, that logically means I can't lose, right? So why are there checkpoints? In case I need to put the game down and pick it back up later? I'd believe that if the checkpoints weren't in such seemingly random places. Station Square Act 2 immediately starts off with one. Unless they're not checkpoints and just random assets they decided to put all over the place. Wait, Knuckles? I didn't realize you had gotten kidnapped too. The opening cutscene only shows Tails and Amy. Also, if we have to save Tails and Amy from capsules that they're trapped in, as well as Knuckles, whom we didn't know was here, while traversing through different worlds for each, all while completing puzzles and collecting Chaos Emeralds, having a disembodied voice and a child guide us. Look, I'm not saying that Sonic Frontiers copied its plot from Sonic X on the Leapster, but I'm also not saying that.
Press the A button to enter Angel Island.
Hold up, we can go to Angel Island and that's not where Knuckles was trapped?
Move on to burrows to use them as a shortcut.
Okay, I didn't think I'd say this, but can I play this game, please? Given that I knew that getting the answer wrong once made the correct answer start to flash, I was curious what would happen if you got the wrong answer multiple times in a row. It turns out that after 3 wrong answers, they just get rid of all the wrong ones and leave only the correct one for you to find. Still flashing, by the way. And at that point, is this even really educational? Anyone could just brute force their way into beating the game. You never have to get the right answer.
Watch out for hollow logs. Someone is living inside.
Was that a monkey? No, not you, a monkey, like an actual realistic monkey. How did Sonic fit into the log with the monkey? No, not you. I don't think I'm supposed to be able to do this. For whatever reason, they explain how this minigame works every time you play it, taking control away from the player, and I am desperately trying to speed up this process by tapping, to no avail. I know what I have to do, game. Just tell me how many I have to circle.
Answer my question to get past.
Hold on. Yeah, these are the Math Robots' questions, right? So why is the disembodied voice asking us the questions? And I get that Chris is here to cheer us on, but couldn't he ask us the questions too if he's here? It just seems like we have an extra narrator for no reason. You know, it's especially weird that there's absolutely no penalty for getting any of the questions wrong when you actually do get something for answering them at all, beyond just progress. You get 5 rings per question you answer, and if you collect all 99 rings in a level, you're rewarded with a Chaos Emerald. So why not make the penalty simply that you get less rings depending on how many correct answers you give? I get that it would be particularly frustrating if you happen to accidentally run into the wrong answer like I've been doing, and as a content creator that had to record this and just wanted it to be over, I'm really glad they didn't design it that way, especially considering that each of these levels will likely take you around 8 to 10 minutes each. I just think it would have provided a better incentive for kids to learn and get the right answer, especially if the point of the game is to teach math. It's already not doing much in the entertainment part of Edutainment. The least you could do is go all in on the educational half of it.
To hear the question again, press the B button.
I don't need to. Why would anyone need to? The question is at the very top of the screen. Oh my god, how many times are we gonna have to go through one of these? Wait, hold on, that's right! There hasn't been a single other gold plate or checkpoint throughout the entirety of Angel Island! So why were there so many of them in Station Square? What are the rules, dang it? I'll eat you, Chunk.
There are 8 math robots.
So how come these math robots don't look like the other math robots? If all the robots I encounter in this game are math robots, wouldn't that just make them robots? I just don't get why we're making the distinction if there is none.
Watch out for the robot. He'll shake things up.
Get it? Shake things up. What did that even do? Nothing in this game is a threat to me.
You found all the rings and activated a Chaos Emerald.
That is not what we did. We already have all of the Chaos Emeralds. What we did was restore power to the Master Emerald. What? Oh. Huh. Wait, how does that work? Is the shape of it the emerald itself, and the green stuff is just juice? How do you restore only half of the Master Emerald's power? You really are just a toddler, aren't you? Wait, are those Amy sprites in the style of a classic game, but in her modern design, repurposing sprite animation from the Advanced series? For Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, I can at least understand it because they already have classic-style sprites you can base their designs on, but you basically had to make these Amy sprites from scratch to match the style. Why was so much effort put into the animation, but not the rest of the game? So I had to add this cutscene in post because depending on the order in which you play Angel Island and Eggman's Base, you wouldn't get to see the second one's level clear cutscene since it would take you straight to the ending. Granted, it's not like there's a huge difference between the two cutscenes, you're really not missing out on anything, but they already made this cutscene, the least they could do is show it to you. Collecting the Chaos Emeralds and restoring power to the Master Emerald doesn't really do anything. It's just bragging rights. And I guess a way of tracking which level you fully completed, but I don't know, it feels pointless otherwise.
You saved the day!
No sweat for these fast feet.
I can never get over how Sonic looks in this frame. Like, they knew his eyes looked way too spaced out, right?
So remember, kids, don't use robots in a math contest against hedgehogs.
No, my child, no, they are not. Also, within the game file, there's a cutscene that was meant to store the data for the credits, but it seems like it was just a placeholder since not only are there no credits in this game, but even in that cutscene file, there are no credits attributed to anyone.
I'll make everyone talk about me!
Holy bananas, there is a lot going on just on this title screen alone. For starters, that's the Sonic 1 title screen animation against Emerald Hill Zone from Sonic 2 to the tune of Mushroom Hill Zone from Sonic & Knuckles with the logo from Sonic 06. I'm not saying they have to stick to any one style, but this is levels of remixing that Sonic Mania wishes it could achieve. Also, right before we get into this game, you might notice that little Leapfrog Enterprises copyright on the bottom left. Yup, this is another Leapfrog game. And if I thought that Sonic X for the Leapster was a pain to record, you have no idea the lengths I went to capture this one. Sonic the Hedgehog, don't worry, we'll get to this game's incredible naming convention later, was released on a little console known as the Leapfrog DIDJ, and like most other Leapfrog consoles, the DIDJ doesn't have a way to output its video signal, so there's no way to hook it up to a capture card. Unfortunately, playing this and Sonic X on an totally legal Leapfrog console is next to impossible because no one's developed one for either console yet, meaning the only way to capture these games in their full glory is to actually play them on their original hardware. Unlike Sonic X though, I can't just stick a DIDJ cartridge into my LMAX because they're not compatible. So what's the deal, right? How did I manage to record this? Well, through the magic of contacting the only other human being on the face of this planet who seems to know and care about how to do this. iDog Hacker was the saving grace when it came to teaching me the ins and outs of how to capture this game, because get this, right? Rather than purchase an actual DIDJ, I had to buy another Leapfrog console known as the LeapPad 3, which functions more like a tablet, whereas the DIDJ is more like a Game Boy Advance. Because my desktop computer lacks Wi-Fi capabilities, I had to use my laptop for this and install a piece of third-party software that allows me to enter the LeapPad's developer mode, which then allows me to connect to my laptop's mobile hotspot. The reason I need to do this instead of simply connecting both devices to the same network is because I then need to send a command from my computer to the LeapPad that will enable the console to function as a wireless hard drive, so I can later place my own files onto the system, chief among them the Sonic DIDJ ROM. Mind you, you're not supposed to be able to play this game on a LeapPad 3. You can't download the specific game from the shop, but both it and the DIDJ share the same modified operating system, meaning that if you somehow got the ROM on there, overwrite the files linked to the date of an already existing app on the LeapPad, it should work just fine. Now, almost any time you send a command through this third-party software, the program itself freezes, after which you have to unplug and replug the LeapPad, and trust me, there was a lot of unplugging and replugging until this finally worked, because I don't know if my LeapPad itself just struggled to communicate or if its USB port was worn out. I don't know. I used different cables and struggled to stay connected with each of them. The point is, I had to unplug and replug because I then had to send a separate command that would allow me to connect to the console using another piece of software later. Before that, though, I had to connect to the LeapPad's file directory using its IP address, put the necessary files in the correct folders, create a new one where I place the local recording software in its respective libraries using a modified version of the software specifically coded to work on the LeapPad 3 so that it could record it all, and then open that other piece of software where I could then send a command to allow me to access the folder on the LeapPad where the recording software is, after which I'm able to finally send the command to actually record the game. Bear in mind, I said it's a local recording software, meaning that the encoding, decoding, processing, all of that is being done by the LeapPad itself, and I have no idea what this footage is going to look like until I'm done or decide to do a test. And while every command I've used so far is pretty set in stone, the command I sent to record was one that I could play with a little bit to get a higher quality recording, which I then had to learn the nomenclature for so that I knew what the heck I was even doing. And finally, after all was said and done, I had to once again plug the thing back into my computer, run the command that lets me access its files again, and wait patiently as the recordings transfer over not my Wi-Fi, but the hotspot connection between my LeapPad 3 from 2014 to my laptop from 2015. Even if this had been the best Sonic game in the world, that is entirely too convoluted a process just to capture footage of a video game. But no. All of this was to be able to share with you guys the most uninspired, obscure, I just want this to be over spelling game I think I've ever played in my life. All for the sake of archiving Sonic the Hedgehog footage to the best of my ability. But am I a Sonic tuber? No! Apparently, I'm just the everything wrong with guy, so that must mean I hate Sonic, right? It's not like I played every single available title in the series leading up to one of the most anticipated entries or anything. I played Freeriders live for 6 hours straight for you. Do you know how hard that is to do on its own? Never mind for someone with a repaired ACL. Yeah, I'm good. I think I just need a minute. Oh, yeah, so get this right. They didn't bother giving this game a unique name like, oh, I don't know, Sonic Spelling Adventure or Sonic DIDJ or anything more identifying like that. It's simply known as Sonic the Hedgehog, which doesn't at all make it confusing when taking the very first game as well as 06 into account, especially when it uses the title screen sprites and logo for each of them respectively. Oh my god, and you didn't even bother to use a unique font for your UI! That's just regular old Arial! And it's not even Green Hill Zone! It's Emerald Hill Zone, and you're still using the Mushroom Hill Zone music! I can't tell you just how aggravating it is that sometimes the collision during these minigames just doesn't want to work. You already run past the monitors, which feels wrong given how they work in the classic games, but then you need to jump on them in just the right position for them to register as being broken. And same with the spring. I'll try to jump on it from an angle, phase through it, hit the jump button again, and immediately spring. Like, what? Wait, you're using the modified advanced sprites again? Maybe you should properly align your background layer assets before you start getting fancy with your animations, guys! And speaking of the sprites, why are you using the bubble shield sprites for a regular shield? I kept thinking the rest of the elemental shields were in this, but nope. No, sorry, monkey, no bubbles, just a bed of lies. And if you needed any further evidence of just how little they cared about making this game, all you'd need to do is just look at the game design document for this one. This is one of those rare instances where we actually know how the game was designed on paper, and I get it. Senior game designers aren't Sonic fans, and they corrected mostly where they needed to in the final game, but you can absolutely tell that there's a communication issue between the copyright holders and the devs when you're combining the names for the critters with their counterparts from the Saturday morning cartoon that hasn't aired in over a decade, the Japanese names of the badniks alongside their English names, something they could have only received straight from the source, which really confuses me when you get to the zone overview to check the inspirations, such as Act 1 of this game being inspired by Jade Island Zone from Sonic 1, a level that doesn't exist, and Act 2 being inspired by Green Emerald Zone from Sonic 2, a level that, again, doesn't exist! Was my score even finished adding up yet? What? Okay, no. You can't just call this Emerald Hill Zone when it looks exactly like the last level, which was called Green Hill Zone, but looked like Emerald Hill to begin with, especially not when it has the same music as the last level. Either make each level look and sound unique, or make this Green Hill Zone Act 2. Pick one!
Spell the word moist. You spelled moist.
I don't like that you made me spell that word. I didn't mean to! Okay, you're messing with me. You're 100% just yanking my chain. I can't even break these monitors on purpose most of the time. And you're telling me I just managed to let myself fall and break it that time by complete accident? Oh, I did? I was just bouncing off of Eggman. It kind of blends in a bit too much with the background. I don't think I even realized. Really? Sandopolis is the third level? Of all the levels you could have chosen, you picked one of the most notoriously disliked levels as the third level in your game? Huh? How did I end up here? I need to calm down. Yeah, no, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. You're fine. We're all fine. Yep, absolutely. Welcome to a Sonic game, kiddo. Oh, and because I had to quit and restart, I now have to listen to each minigame's instructions again without being able to skip them. Oh, I love that for me. Why is this still playing the Sandopolis music? I was just about to give them props for playing the correct theme for once, and they just go and mess it up. Actually, the GDD explains this one too. Originally, the game was supposed to be divided into 4 zones with 2 acts each. Zone 1 was going to be named Grass Hill, which, you know, see, it's different, blah, blah, blah. But Zone 2 was going to be called Hydropolis, basically combining 2 different zones as separate acts of a new one. And you can still see remnants of that since you only fight a boss every other level. In the final game, each zone is its own act, but the first 2 zones both share the Mushroom Hill theme, and these last 2 levels are sharing the Sandopolis theme. It's just so weird, because it's not like you had to make any new compositions or anything. You literally could have slapped on each level's respective music. I can't imagine it would have taken that long or have taken up too much memory. I also just realized that the curricular gadgets, that's what the spelling minigames are called, each have different music too. I only realized because I thought of how weird it was to hear Flying Batteries theme in this level when I could have sworn I'd heard the Gumball bonus theme earlier. And it's because I had! The Word Wheel curricular gadget plays the Gumball bonus theme, the Letter Cannon one plays the Blue Spheres theme, and both of those make sense, right? In a way, the curricular gadgets are a sort of special stage, so when Scrambled Station uses a regular level theme, it kinda just feels out of place, especially when paired with a level it doesn't belong to.
You spelled squid.
Wait, and you play a faster version of the Mushroom Hill theme with the Power Sneakers? You couldn't just set the engine to play the current theme faster or have a specific Power Sneaker theme per level? Even just a unique Power Sneaker theme would have been better. If you focused less on micro mods and badges and bits in favor of your sound design, I'd have a lot less to complain about. Yep, nope, still have no idea what this one does other than drop the ball. Bop! Yeah, you got it. Also, the Egg Gravitron is not the boss from this stage. Wait, that's only Emerald number 2. Oh god, how much more of this game is there? Wait, Scrap Brain Zone? So you could use assets from the first game? Why was Green Hill Zone using Emerald Hill Zone's assets? Also, this is Flying Battery Zone's music! You can't just use a level theme you're already using for one of the curricular gadgets! I'm sorry, I didn't realize how much I'd be complaining about the sound design in this one. I just do not understand why it is the way that it is! Look, I gave you a pass when you played Sandopolis' theme for the water level from Sonic 3, but I draw the line at playing Flying Battery's theme for Chemical Plant. Okay, this has been bugging me all game, I just couldn't find a good point to talk about it, but the idle animation is broken. Not only does Sonic enter his idle pose way too quickly, but he like stutters before looking at the camera like he's about to do the animation and then the animation resets. I don't understand why though. Oh yeah, I forgot that this happened. So for whatever reason, I guess I must have been going too slow or something. I got stuck on this lower quadrant of the loop because the physics kept automatically sending me back and forth. I couldn't keep going, I couldn't jump out of the logic loop, I tried spinning my way out, but the only thing that worked was pausing and unpausing the game. Really bizarre. Egg Base Zone? You mean Death Egg Zone? Oh, because you don't want to put the word death in an edutainment game. Yeah, even the GDD calls the original zone this was based on Space Egg Zone, which, again, doesn't exist. But making kids spell the words hopeless and moist is okay. Okay, several things wrong with that. First of all, the Death Egg robot wouldn't go down that easily like a chump. The Master Emerald is not orange, and even if it was just a Chaos Emerald, there's no orange Chaos Emerald! You want an orange? Okay, monkey, here you go. Thanks, also you missed a spot. And hold on, that's it? 3 Chaos Emeralds and an orange Master Emerald? Why am I even collecting these? Nuh-uh, you did not have this many people working in your audio department, bro. No shot. What, did each of them pick one song to be in this game? Cause shoutouts to whoever picked the Sonic 3D Blast theme to be the credits music. That was a pretty base decision. 7 people for audio. That's how many Chaos Emeralds you should have had. There should be 2 audio people credited. The person who narrated the game and the person who put the already composed MIDI files in the game. Are you? Go throw that orange peel away. Yeah? Is the game over? Are you not gonna take me back to... Oh, okay, yeah, I had to push a button to be sent back to the main menu with the same background art and restart the music that was already playing. Yeah, that makes sense.
Bye. Spell the word moist.
Hey everyone, Charai5 here. Thank you so much for watching my CINEMASINS pastiche of everything wrong with the Sonic Edutainment games. Now, while I did grow up with edutainment games such as, I remember the Rita Rabbit series from the Learning Company when I was a kid. I loved that series. I didn't grow up with the Sonic ones. I didn't know about them until I was an adult, and I experienced them as an adult. And so I have no memories, no nostalgia for them. And so I think that my opinion on them is a little skewed. I feel like I would have liked Sonic Schoolhouse growing up. Gameworld, I feel like I really would have enjoyed as a kid, but I'm curious to know, and the question of the video is, did you guys grow up with any of these? Do you guys have any fond memories of any of these games? Did you learn by playing any of these games? I would love to hear your memories and your experiences. On screen, you're seeing the names of the wonderful patrons and channel members who decide to contribute monthly to this channel, and if you would like to join them, if you would like to see your name alongside them, you can do so by hitting the join button down below this video or hitting the link in the description. You are under no obligation though. Every little bit helps. Liking, commenting, subscribing, telling a friend that you think might like this video, all that free stuff helps. I again really appreciate you watching, and until next time, stay safe, stay awesome. This is Charai5 signing off.